Everybody, welcome to this week's Star Report. This is Jason here doing Dimensions, Crystals, and Reiki in downtown Brenham, Texas. And today's report is for the 19th of March, 2025 through the 25th of 2025. And let's jump right into the sun. The sun's kind of quiet. It is the height of the solar cycle, so we should be at solar maximum, but it is quiet on at least the Earth facing CME and sunspot front. So there have been some minor eruptions off the backside, but nothing that is complex. There is a minor, meaning really tiny, coronal hole that is Earth facing, and so that should give us a magnetic lock today, and the energy should hit us over the weekend, just in time for a really, really large coronal hole to uptick that energy. Probably the largest, could be the largest coronal hole of the cycle. So pay attention to that. Yeah, just a reminder, whenever we have the coronal holes, it's a pressure, it's a magnetic lock that sometimes causes us to have an uptick in the physical realm of lower vibrational waves, right? So there's a compression of the planet, right? And so it's sort of a low rumble, causes extra earthquakes when we are locked with a coronal hole. Even the small ones cause an uptick in earthquake activity. So pay attention to that if you are near that. Also, just sort of think of it as is that when those are happening, they cause deep shifts, right? So this could be a subconscious shift in your realities. So look for that possibility to be a thing. The zodiac sign, we are moving into Aries overnight. So Aries is usually going to be the crown. Is where it physically corresponds in the alchemy of the shifting of the stars in the zodiac. People have done this really great book. I believe it's called The Salts of Salvation. I think published in like 1890 or whatever, really gives the correspondence well and gives a sort of a description of the words we use to describe the zodiacs, the months that they occur in, and all those kind of things. But for ease, top of the head, a lot of people are going to think, a lot of people are going to think that sort of corresponds with the pituitary gland, right? So that sort of goes with the idea that this tells all the other glands how to sort of act, right? So that our consciousness hits this, and then we all act accordingly in our physical form when that happens. Great. Aries is also the ram, right? So the higher mind or the golden fleece, right, which also could be the third ventricle, right? So if you take an MRI of the head, the little space in between the two hemispheres that most everybody thinks is the brain, right? There's this sort of thing that runs through it, which might look like a set of horns, right? So a lot of times the vibration of those fluids in that third ventricle are times when we are more psychically open and aware. So sort of pay attention that you're having higher mind things start to shift into this reality. If there's blockages, if there's resistance to being non-physical or interdimensional, right? Sometimes that will result in that location being blocked, and you will experience that as physical pain, right? It's physical pain in the mind, right? Unblock yourself, be aware, be awake, all the fun stuff. So yeah, fun times moving into Aries. I always liked Aries, of course, I'm a Taurus, which is going to get us back down here to the occipital lobe and the polyvagal nerve cluster. But I digress. Anywho, we are in a couple of retrogrades and Venus retrograde. Venus, the planet of love, in retrograde, especially this cycle, it's really about are you self? Do you love yourself? Right? Are you worthy of being in a partnership? Are you worried? Subconscious release. Are you aware of your worth? Right. And so that's usually in comparison to romantic relationships, right? What are you settling for? If you're in transition, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I've just left a relationship because Venus retrograde, and you're thinking about getting into another one, then it's really more about what's the word? Are you attracting somebody that's the old you, right? So you're trying to lock in the pattern, or are you readjusting so that you can attract an entire different crowd, right? A lot of time during retrogrades, Venus and Mercury, old relationships will come back up for review. And usually that's sort of like, hey, do you want to go backwards or do you want to go forwards? And a lot of times when we sort of hit these shifts, there's been people on the periphery, right? And so usually if it's going to be new and allow you to be brand new, it's probably somebody that hasn't been hanging around waiting for you to get over or past somebody else. Just pay attention to that. And of course, Mercury is retrograde. Mercury is about communication and travel, right? So caution on signing new documents, starting new companies, all that fun stuff. And then just be clear in your communication, right? So a lot of miscommunication happens during Mercury retrograde, and a lot of times you'll sort of see an uptick in people who aren't necessarily hearing the message in their mind, right? So they'll have things go wrong, like missed planes, lost baggage, car trouble. So pay attention for that and do a self-examination if that's the case. Like, hey, what am I not seeing? What should I stay put and pay attention to? Or what direction am I heading where my car decided to shit the bed? Yeah, stuff like that. Fun times. Yeah, and so all the energy still intense, right? We're still in the eclipse gateway or eclipse portal, so that moves us into today, the 19th of 2025, March 19th, 2025. Today is a 22 master day, right? And so when you add all the individual numbers of 03192025, that gets to 22. In case you're wondering how that works. And then let's see. And so with the 22 master day occurring in this portal, really uh, the what's the word? The barriers or the difference or the veil in between sleep and dream has sort of waned, right? So a lot of people, especially since the eclipse gateway, probably since Venus retrograde, have been having reporting to me their sleep disrupted, right? Some light sleep difference, sleep crazy dreams, right? And so you want to think that this energy is sort of dropping the veil in between dream and reality, right? So that the two are merging. And this is also beginning a stream of 22 master days leading all the way up until October. And what sort of happens during master days, especially when there's sort of the higher mind of Aries, the thinning of the veil in between wake and sleep, that we really have this ability to manifest quickly or realize the illusion clearer, right? So, like, hey, wait a second, this is a bunch of bullshit. Seeing through the storyboards, right? And checking the narrative that's been given to you and what's actually a reality for yourself. Blah 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 blah. A lot of times I was like, what else did I write? It's a huge, large paragraph here, which is why I'm not hitting my bullet points. I'm like, I wrote a lot of stuff that was probably important when I wrote it down, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't have wrote it down. Contact with other masters is possible during this time between wake and sleep and all this merging stuff. And the idea of that is, that could be masters like Buddha, Jesus, people that have done great things on the planet and that are not on this side of the veil. That could be aliens if you're into it, Sasquatch if you're into it, fairy, dragons, all the kind of stuff that might be sort of operating out there or at a higher dimension or at a past dimension that seem to have more magic in it is all possible. And if this is the point I was trying to get to, I wrote a whole paragraph of blah, blah, blah. But the point I was really trying to get to, if you're sort of not experiencing any of that and you're really like, hey, it's just me, maybe you're the master and people are coming by to see you to have guidance and wisdom. I'll just let that sit there. Y'all can enjoy that one. Leads us into tomorrow. Yeah, today's Wednesday. Tomorrow, Thursday, the 20th. Really, this energy period is about when you're so close to the other side and realize the realities of perfection that exist in realms other than this one created by thought and time. You can sort of really move into a time of healing, right? So healing the mind, healing the thought process, but also when you have alignment with that, you can start to have physical healing. So if you're having some miraculous shifts in your body during that time, maybe even pain, right? So a lot of time pain is sort of telling you where the healing or the shifting is happening. And you can easiest way to go about that is Louise Hay. Of course, if you've got your own terminology in your own mind about what your body's telling you, then you can use that as well. But just sort of like traditional ailments that the body has. Louise Hay's heal yourself, heal your body, is the best way to sort of like, hey, reference that and see if that resonates. If it doesn't resonate, it's not like you're wrong and she's right. It's just a good clue to place to start. Moves us into Friday, the 21st of March 2025. On Friday, we'll be halfway through the eclipse gateway, right? So we just had the full lunar eclipse. We're going to have a partial solar eclipse with the super new moon, right? So the moon will be as close as possible. And the sun will only be partially covered by it during the eclipse. And so really what you're going to pay attention to then or on Friday is what changes has really this shift sort of brought to you. Right. You could be shifting involuntarily in some certain things, but just sort of look at it in the best way possible of like, hey, what could these changes have as a positive sort of thing? And if you've just sort of been noticing the changes and hoping they'd stop, then this is really sort of the encouragement on Fridays to sort of take action on those, right? The universe is going to give you stuff, but it wants you to act, right? So maybe you're misunderstanding and you don't necessarily act in the exact right way. But not acting at all sort of gives a signal that you're not willing to be led to where you're supposed to be, and you like it where you are. And so if that is not the case, if you do not like it where you are, or it could be better where you are, not that anything is bad where you're at, then listen, I'm bouncing up and down and going blurry. Go with what the universe tells you. It's probably an ending of an age and a beginning of a new one. This energy sort of highlights that, right? We're moving into the age of Aquarius, all those fun things. And come on, focus. Where am I? Hello. Oh, well, I guess I'll be blurry for the rest of the video. That's fine. I'll stop moving and talk just like this. There I am. Nice and clear again. It's probably the ending of an age, right? And this is just sort of a highlight of either the beginning of the new one or the things that's clearing out the old stuff. There's definitely a move in popular culture to brand it in a certain way, which may or may not be true, but ends of ages, the Kali Yuga, and all those things, the grand calendar, all the fun stuff that metaphysical and conspiracy people like to talk about, right? The dawning of a golden age. Perhaps it's true, right? And so brand it for yourself rather than being told that it's happening and what it's going to look like. If you like to be a participant in your own reality, then start to take these actions. It is sort of warranted on Friday towards what you want. Moves us into Saturday, the 22nd, 322. Also, speaking of conspiracies, 322 is a great number for order out of chaos kinds of things. So, not that I'm predicting, but pay attention to some weird news over the weekend. We sort of got hints of how weird news can be. Speaking of conspiracy, the release of the presidential assassination files yesterday or whatever, or was it just yesterday? Must have been just yesterday. Just sort of pay attention that there could be something afoot on a 322 day, but it's also 3 weeks of Venus retrograde by then. And know that a healed you can be more valuable than a non-healed us, right? So the energy of Saturday is really what are you willing to compromise in all the healing work you've done on yourself, the self-expression, the spiritual awakening. And what are you willing to settle for, right? Whether that's a non-awakened partner, somebody who thinks that you've gone crazy. I'm going to stop. Am I having a stem? Is that what they call it? Having a rock go on? It must be full on into my whatever the things go on in my mind. Yeah. So pay attention to that, right? That you'll be tempted during this time or shown very clearly that parts of you that are important might be challenged. Yeah, there we go. Pluto is also going to influence you to be able to weed out the good from the great, right? So there's a whole lot of shit going on, and you're like, well, what should I do? What's going on? Or I've missed out on Bitcoin. What's the next thing I can buy? All the little things of this universe is shifting and is shifting so fast. I'm going to miss out on it. Or what part of it am I supposed to participate in? Really, the alignment of Pluto, I believe it's with the sun, it is really going to sort of help you see like, hey, this would be good, or you could join a bandwagon, or there's some great things that are for you, which might be the same exact things, but it might be something uniquely you. So pay attention that you get some clarity on that on Saturday, right? Which also a good time to sort of like, hey, you're in this moment of clarity, and then something uh big happens, and you start to pay attention to that. So pay attention, pay attention to paying attention to paying attention. I sound really uh, teachery today. Pay attention in class. It is a class. We are divine eternal souls. We're live, love, and affection. We're never going to die. Therefore, what we're doing right now is supposed to be teaching or learning us something, helping us to release from an experience that maybe we've had or that we need to have a clarity of what it means to be one. Fun times. Sunday, the 23rd. Yeah, Sunday, the 23rd, Venus in retrograde moves between Earth and the sun, right? It starts, it does it every year. It starts to move between the sun, and when it starts to do that, it becomes our morning star, right? So sometimes it's there at night, so it'll start to raise in the east, I believe. The things I study and the things I don't remember when I'm trying to tell you, because it's going to be really cool to put on my video. But nonetheless, Venus will start to move into our morning star, that is visible just below, but before dawn in the east. And just sort of understand that the idea of the morning star, scripture tells us that Jesus said he was the morning star. Uh, so you really want to think that the shift is really an energetic anointment, right? So what are you being anointed, right? And so Christ, and this is Christ consciousness, which is really Christ awareness, which is really oneness, right? So what larger thing are you being shown or given access to, that you're being attuned to, right? So you want to think of this as an expansion, an energy shift in the body, something that's going to sort of feel different about the self, right? A lot of times when we sort of hit this quietness, this peace, we think something's wrong. We're waiting for the shoe to drop. We're not overstimmed. We're just like, what's this? Right. And so newness might feel like that. So pay attention for that Venus shift to sort of be that sort of awakening, right? And you could use this as a symbol of the seasons, right? Spring's coming, all the fun stuff. But definitely, it's an awakening, it's attunement, it's an activation, it's a blessing, it's a happening to Christ energy that you should notice and pay attention to. Obviously, things don't shift on a dime, right? So if it's Saturday or Monday, that's fine too. Um, Moves into Monday the 24th, 2025. Uh, really the energy, really the energy of the day is going to have you questioning or discerning, are if your soul is smiling more than you are, right? So like if your soul is telling you there's reasons to be joyful and that everything's going to be fine, but you're right, so you're resisting the energy, right? So you want to think of it as when you start to align with what's actually true, then you sort of connect a circuit, and then movement can happen easier. And so you really want to take that time to sort of align with the soul. And that's really Mercury, which is in retrograde, is going to sort of be uh, combining energy with the active sun, right? So we're going to have all that energy that sort of pops up over the weekend with the super large coronal hole, right? And one coronal hole right after the other, right? So you want to think of this as a ramping up. And then Mercury is about communication, right? It's in retrograde. So it's this deep communication to like, hey, here's my operating system as a soul. Is that smiling more than me, and then what's keeping me from allowing this joy, this light, this morning star from shining a light into my reality, rather than me being sad about things that are happening outside the self that are making me not smile. Good Monday. Sounds like a fun Monday. Then it leads into Tuesday the 25th, 2025. Mercury and Pluto are really going to be combining energies to really show you how deep you are, right? So a lot of times I'll have people that sort of look to me as I've been doing this spiritual work for 20 years, but definitely this metaphysical work for a little over a decade now, 12 years, 13 years, whatever. Um, where, effort and time in and expertise really is this, oh, like you must be special or more deep or have more access, right? And so really on Tuesday it's sort of showing that everybody's got that access. Some people are looking in that direction, right? So Tuesday, Mercury and Pluto is sort of depth of spiritual understanding, right? is going to show you how deep your waters run, right? And so, spiritual power, spiritual efficacy, spiritual worthiness, all those kinds of things come up on a Tuesday. Sounds like a great Tuesday to me. But yeah, that's the week. Should be nice. Should be nice and calm, like the last couple of weeks. Right. So don't expect the. You want to think about the shift into a new age, right? Everything is accelerating, right? The ability of data, right? You can add the physical reality is reflecting the inner world, right? So the advancement of AI, quantum computing that does 4 billion years worth of computations in like 4 seconds or whatever it was, whatever the weird number was that came out. I think it was a Microsoft chip. Think of all of that speed is something that's happening on the inside, right? But in the nature of it all, it's just rolling before your face because there is no such thing as time and you're an eternal soul, right? So it's just feeling like it's that fast, but really it's an awakening to what you already are, right? So if a computer chip can do that many calculations in the divine eternal soul, which is outside of time and space, that computation is slow. So it's just sort of awakening to the divinity that you already have. And I think that's it. I'm going to stop rambling. It feels like I rambled a lot this one. I hope not. I always enjoy giving you this information. I'm glad you like it. Share, like, subscribe. That always makes me feel better than my congregation. I don't have a congregation, but sometimes I roll back into my old pastor self where you got to say how many people were in church on Sunday and like each service, and then you sort of do a rolling average and has it increased over a year, and how are your neighbors doing, and what's that pastor preaching to get all these people in this church? All the fun stuff. I just like to speak about the nature of reality, our divine role in it. Everybody that hears that has actually got a divine role. Even people who don't hear it have a divine role. Even people who don't think it's a thing have a divine role. So, yeah, I think that's it. Newdimensionscrystals.com if you want to come by the shop, book an appointments. I'm here in downtown Burnham, Texas, next to the radio station, 221 East Main Street. It has a green awning on the front. The signage is such that I had the money to put up back in 2019 when I opened. It hasn't much changed. There is a sign that says Rock Shop out front, which is kind of deceiving because I sell rocks, but I'm more of a metaphysician. And there's that. I think blah, 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 blah. Yeah, come see me. I love talking about this stuff. I can answer individualized questions. Walk in for a tarot reading. You can't book that online, but usually it's slow in downtown Brenham, Texas. Sometimes weekends picks up and it's like, hey, there's just no rest time to do a reading, but that happens. It'll all happen in perfect alignment because what? The universe aligns and we're divine internal souls and we are the dawning of a new age with the shift into our morning star Christedness. I'm getting off. I'm getting off the internet. Until next time, everybody, as I find the button, many blessings.